What's going on, guys? We are back again, and yes, we are doing a newer movie review. And we're looking at your screens today. We're going to be looking at the Bike Riders. Now, again, this is a little bit of a while since this movie came out. Again, it came out in 2023. Very newish, but still very new to the cinema. But overall, I will say this: I was kind of hesitant on watching this movie. And the reason why I was hesitant on watching this movie was because of not only not sure if I was going to or I felt the need to, just a bunch of different reasons. Now, I will say this: I like different movies and shows that have to deal with, the biker way of life. One of my favorite shows, obviously, is Sons of Anarchy slash Mayans and that type. Now, again, this goes into the early mid 60s to 70s, back when this is, I would say, the golden age of bikers and forming different clubs and learning the way of life, having a code, going by your own rules, and the anarchy in the club, and also who you rode with. They became your family, they became your confidants, they were your brothers, and the whole story of this is more on Austin Butler playing as the character Benny, who joins the club, the Vandals, run by Tom Hardy's character Johnny. Then Benny meets Jodie Corner's character by the name of Kathy, who is I guess she's getting interviewed by some person that wants to learn more about the club and the clubs of how these bikers, these people, these individuals ride. And she starts telling them how each one of these ones is a member, they have their own lives, they have their own family, and they come from being outsiders. And Johnny came up with this idea, watching a movie or a TV show, of a lot of people like to ride bikes, and why don't they just start a club? And they started having a club, and they didn't really do anything really crazy in the start of this film, but it's pretty much taken through Kathy's eyes of what had happened while she was involved in the club, while Benny was involved in the club, and how they met, how they got married after 5 weeks of meeting, and how she got really involved in the club, and then seeing how the club went from one way of life to another way of life. And Johnny wanted to keep things to a certain angle in town. Everybody knew who they were. And then when things start getting more and more out of control, like Benny getting attacked, that's when they go crazy and burn a bar down, or starting fights with different ones. And then they start letting in other people further into the movie that are a lot younger, that came from war, and they're out of control and no one can control them. And it really does show of how things can go from one way to another, because there's one line in the movie where Benny is asking Johnny, like, so this is who we are now, this is what we do, of wounding one of their own men because he wanted out, because he got beat up by other members that found out he got tired of the way of life and he wanted better, because he figured if he got out he would do better. And then this one kid that wanted to join the Vandals, Johnny, tells him okay after giving him a shot, but then after seeing how the kid was, he said no. Then later on challenges him again, and it doesn't go very well. Now, I will say this: they had a good line of actors in this film. I will say that. And especially if you're a Justified fan, they had a lot of different ones from Justified in here. Like they had Boyd Holbrook, who played Cal. They also had Damon Herman in here, played as Brucey, aka Dewey Crow from Justified. Boyd Holbrook, who played Clement in Justified Primeval. We even had Norman Reedus, who played a really crazy, just out there character. We had Michael Shannon in here. So again, you had a good lineup of actors that was able to bring a movie that was very dramified in this world. But the main issue I had with this film was not only staying invested, but also trying to, I guess, pay attention, because again, you were able to know what was going on. You were able to see the troubles they were having. There was not very much action in here. It was more along the lines of just very dramatic, very slow pace, and then there was a few things that would grab my attention. Now, I'm not saying, oh, let's keep it always fighting and this and that. And again, certain shows, like I said, using Sons of Anarchy, for example, they didn't always do that, which again was part of the way of life, in the biker life, what they were portraying as. And again, I'm not saying this was a bad film. I'm not saying that. It was a film, I would say, for those that like these kind of movies that are very dramified. Takes place back in the 60s and 70s, which again is not a bad era. That I will say, it's not a bad era. It's a very unique era. They did very well with the bikes, the cars, which I like seeing that. Seeing the different bikes and cars was very nostalgic for me, especially being raised around ones, that had muscle cars and that had bikes, from the 80s and 90s, and seeing that growing up. So it was a very it was good in my heart seeing that. But overall, how do I feel about this film? I don't know. For me personally, I feel like this movie is a one and done for me. I feel like I don't need to see it again. I feel like it's just one of those movies that they grabbed a bunch of people, they grabbed a bunch of talent, and I felt like that they kind of just went through the motions. I felt like that they were just there. That it didn't matter on what exactly they were gonna do. It was just like, oh, hey, let's just do this. Hey, let's do that. And that's pretty much how I felt like it ran. Now, again, I'm a fan of Tom Hardy's. I think he did a good job with this role. I think that he really portrayed a biker club president and was able to pull that off. But again, I kind of felt like that this is just a cash and grab, honestly, for a lot of these actors. I feel like it was a cash and grab of, hey, you like bikes, you like, this era, the girls, all this stuff, all these random things. I feel like that was the eyepiece of, hey, come watch this film. But again, I know this is based on, I would say, I think some true events. I'm not fully I know this was inspired by, apparently from what I'm seeing, it was loosely somewhat based on different biker gangs back then. So don't quote me on that. But again, guys, do I recommend this film? Again, if you like movies like that, they're very dramified. Kind of take a step back in time a little bit, and also you like some of these actors in here. If you give it a shot, you may like it. It's not the best movie in my opinion, but it's not the worst movie in my opinion. But overall, what is your opinion of the Bike Riders? Is it a good movie? Is it a bad movie? Is it just there? What is your overall stance on the Bike Riders? Let me know down in the comments down below. If you guys are new to the channel, always about subscribing. Leave a big fat like on the video if you guys enjoyed. And I'll see you as always on the very next one.